Hello, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, I'm Julie from Julie Davis Flower Workshops and Flower Start, the online flower arranging classes. I've been out foraging for cow parsley and I thought I'd arrange them in this homemade vase which I've upcycled with some paint effects. I made this container a while back out of a milk carton. I've decided I don't like the paint finish. I'm going to try an effect with black paint and then lighter and lighter shades of grey over the top. Give your can of paint a really good shake to start, and if necessary you may need to stir it round just so it's of an even consistency. You'll see here that I've put my jug up on a block of wood, and I find that much easier so I can paint all the way around, including the bottom edge, without actually ending up painting the top surface of my table. That's my base coat finished. I've actually used chalkboard paint because I didn't have anything else to hand and I didn't want to go out and buy anything. So I'll leave that to dry, wash my paintbrush, and I can start adding in the decorative details. I'm using acrylic paints. Start off with a black. You can see here that I'm keeping my splodges of white and black paint separate. I'm slowly going to mix the two together of white. So I don't want a huge quantity made up at the beginning. I'm going to add and add and add more white paint and gently fade the colour from a dark grey to a much lighter one. I'm going to use a sponge, dip it lightly into the paint and then get rid of a lot of the excess. Oh, I've only got a really light coverage on the end of my sponge roller. I'm going to start applying it slightly and randomly over the top surface. You need to remember this is just the very first layer, so you won't see a huge difference in the paint finish to start with, but keep going and keep keeping the application of paint really, really light. And add more white. A slightly paler grey. So you need to remember to blot off the excess paint, otherwise you're going to end up with huge splodges which are going to spoil the overall look that you're after. And more white. I've brought the camera closer now so you can see what exactly I'm doing. So it's almost like I'm creating a khaki effect. I'm just trying to keep my movements light and not too concentrated in any particular area. I'm going to start adding even more white paint in now, really starting to fade out the greyness. Of course, you decide what kind of colours you want to use on your own jug. You'll see I've changed the side of the jug around. I was starting at the same place each time, so I was concentrating the first layer of paint, which is slightly heavier than the rest. So you just do need to make sure you truly are doing it randomly around the edge of your container. This is my last layer of grey paint, just continuing through the same process, not too heavy in one particular area, and this is what it looks like when I've finished. My acrylic paint is now dry and it's getting a lovely mottled look. It almost looks like khaki, but in shades of black and grey. And it just looks a little bit dull, so I thought, why don't I use some spray paint? And what I've got here is my Oasis spray paint. I've got a clean, dry paintbrush and a dish that I've covered in cellophane. Normally when I tell you to use spray paint, my advice is to slow, light covers of paint, but what I'm going to do is squirt my paint into the saucer, so I've got a puddle of silver, and use the wet paint to add a touch of silver onto my container. So I'm practicing here to try and get the lightweight brush strokes in order that I'm not too heavy-handed with it. can a good shake, and I'm going to squirt, 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 squirt. So I've got a puddle of silver there. And I'm just going to come in with the corner of my paintbrush and just little flecks of paint, just so it catches the light and doesn't look too dull. Can you see that glinting a little bit? Oh, I've gone a bit heavy there. So the corner of my brush, light strokes, different directions. I've decided that I'd like to arrange some cow parsley in my vase, so I'm going out on one of my daily walks to forage for some cow parsley, and I'm picking this on the edge of a field next to a public footpath, just taking the few stems that I'll need to fill out my vase. It's a really hot day when I picked, so I'll show you when I get home what I do with my stems just to keep them fresh and perky. I've just come back from my daily walk. I can't take my sunglasses off because they're my prescription glasses. I thought you might like to see how I sear my stems when I've been out foraging. So the first job is put the kettle on. The second job is fill a vase up with water. Find yourself a heat-proof jug and a pair of scissors. Recut the stems at an angle. Put my boiling water into my heat-proof jug. And let my stems sit for a moment. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. You decide. And there's some cow parsley. Same thing. Take off some bluer greenery. I'm running out of room in my little jug, so I'll then put those into my vase of room temperature water. I'm not arranging them. I am just letting them sit and relax. And the yellowy stems are actually Alexander's, but I'm not going to use them in this arrangement. I've kept my yellows and my whites separate. So here's my finished container, and I really do love the way that the silver highlights the metallic look to the vase. And where I was a bit heavy-handed with my brushwork, doesn't really matter. Because this container isn't watertight, I've got a glass of water that I'm going to put inside. I've conditioned my cow parsley, and now it's time to get arranging. I need to decide how high I want my flowers to be. I reckon that's about right. I'll cut my other stems to length. I've added every single one of my stems of cow parsley. I love the way it gently moves around in the breeze. In a few days' time, the petals and pollen will start to drop, so you will need to make sure you just sweep those away. And if you'd like to find out more about upcycling containers to make your own vases, leave me a message and I'll send you details of my video playbook.